Hi there, my name is Pedro, I'm from London and I'm going to have a go at editing this raw edit week 83 I think it is. It was taken by Adam Lerner on his Hasselblad H3D. Cool, so first of all I'm going to take it into Lightroom and make a couple changes to it before I take it into Photoshop. To start off with, I've already played around with it for a bit, so I already know the settings. Contrast, I took it up to 20. Highlights was minus 66. The shadows I left. The whites I took it down to minus 67. The blacks minus 51. Clarity I took it up to 23 because I want it to be quite a sharp image. Vibrance was 13 and saturation was minus 17. So that's looking pretty good so far. Now for curve, I think I like the medium contrast curve on it, so it looked pretty cool. And I also need to sharpen it a little bit. As you can see, the eye here, I'll take this in on here, it's a bit blurry, so just take that up a tiny little bit and also just mask it so it just affects the eyes. Alright, so now I'm going to edit this in Photoshop. Let's just take it in there. Come on. Alright, cool. So to start off with, one thing I want to do is to fix the blemishes and lines that are around the face. So I'm going to duplicate the image, bring out my healing brush, and just have a little go at it. Looking pretty cool now. So now I will do the hair. Let's get a stamp tool out. Okay, cool, so that's looking alright now. The hair's cleaned up a little bit, the skin's cleaned up a tiny little bit as well. So now, what I'll do next would be, let's merge these two layers together. And then, what I want to do is to sharpen up a little bit more on the eyes. Well, actually, let's do a bit on the eyes right now. So, start off with, let's put a filter, portraiture basically, great filter, masks out the whole skin, and it basically you can either smoothen out the skin through this plugin if you're using female models, but in this case we're using a male, and generally for this image I wouldn't want to keep it I wouldn't want to make the image soft, I'd want to make it quite harsh and sharp. So what I've done here is, on the side, this is where you can change the detail smoothing if you want the skin's pores to look a lot more smoother, if you want to take out any blemishes, it's great for that kind of stuff. And then here, this is where you pick out the mask by using the pipettes, for example, and you just take that, you just focus on the area of skin that you want concentrated. In this case we can take the dark parts. And you can see sometimes it takes the, like for example, mask out the bridge because it's similar kind of colours, but you can delete all that out. But in this case, because it's quite blurry, it shouldn't make that much of a difference anyway. So in this case, here you go, you can see the mask, and what I've done is I've just increased the sharpness on it, put a tiny kind of magenta tint on the skin, brought down the brightness a tiny bit, and boosted up the contrast a little bit just to give it this kind of effect. And you can see this is the before and this is the after. When I click on it, you can see the difference, the change that's been taken. So I'm happy with that. And next, I will just make those eyes pop a little bit more. And to do that, what I want to do is, first of all, here in this section, I think it's just a bit too yellowish for me. So what I'll do is I'll get the lasso tool. Alright, let's merge these two layers together now. Quite happy with that. Okay, now let's get the lasso tool in there. Highlight the eye area. I kind of want it to match this eye basically. So I've got it feathered at 1 pixel. And what I'll do is I'll just put a hue saturation on that. No, not a hue saturation, what am I talking about? I'm talking stupid. I want to put a... oh no, it was hue saturation. Sorry, I'm going mental. Alright, so what I want to do is reduce the reds, because normally you get reds and yellows in there. So reduce the reds and reduce the yellows in saturation. There you go. And then you go back to the masters and just bump up the brightness just a tiny bit, not too much, because otherwise you end up with something like that, which looks obviously fake. So let's just say around there. Maybe, wait a minute. Yeah, I'd say a little bit less than that. Around there. That's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. Okay, and for the pupil, well, the iris, for that part, you literally do the same. You kind of select your eye. Let's select all of it, as much of it as we can get. Do the same with the other part. Okay, cool. And now I will add in a curve layer into there. I will use this tool here, select the brighter points, and I'll make a little mark there. And select the darkest points, and what I'll do here is I will drop the darker points just slightly and bring up the lighter points just a tiny bit. Okay, it looks over exaggerated a tiny bit now, but what I'll do is I'll just reduce the fill on that, and that's it. So I'm happy. Even though it's a tiny little change, it's kind of sharpened it up, it's made it look a bit nicer, and yeah, cool. So next, I want to add a tiny bit more depth. Wait a minute, actually, that eye looks a tiny bit grey, so I'll go back to the hue saturation. I think it was the reds, maybe there was a bit too much. Maybe the yellows. Yeah, it was the yellows. So that's, wait a minute, that's a bit better. Okay, cool. So now what I want to do also to make it pop even more is I want to bring out the kind of tones in the skins and kind of brighten up, well, add more depth to it really. So to start off with, I would add one layer, one curve layer, which would be based on the shadows. I want to invert that mask. I'll invert that layer basically, and then I go to the curves here, and I do one for the highlights. Do the same thing, invert it. So now with a brush, get it about 20%, set it to white, feather it down as low as you can get. and just literally paint in the areas where you want the shadow to be. Anywhere where there is shadows, just apply this basically. Cool. It's looking pretty good so far. So now what I do is I do a blur on it. Pause and blur on it. About 9.9% is good for me. 9.9 is good for me. Then you do exactly the same with the highlights. And this is where you really see the difference. That is looking good so far. Okay, cool. So now what I would do is I would change the colour up now. Take that magenta out of the way. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'd go with. That looks pretty neat. So I'll save this image. Come on. Alright, cool. Let's go back into Lightroom. And let us see what else I'll do. I think the only thing I'll do to this now would be a crop. So, yeah, I think the last thing I'll do would be a crop. So let's make it portrait. It's about there. I'd say that's about it. That's what I'll do. Cool, so I hope you enjoyed it, and take it easy.